Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who finally got to see Black Country New Road in concert at the Howard Theater in Washington, D.C. on September 20th, 2023. And if you just want to hear my review of that concert and of seeing them, I'll put a timestamp down below. Before that, I'm going to tell some stories. I'm going to sort of talk about the process of going to a show. It's a thing I like to do. I like to sort of take people with me. But if you just want to hear my musical take, I'm not offended. You can skip ahead. And if you stick around till the end, you'll hear the story about how I met the band and what happened when I met them. I had been messaging back and forth with Charlie, the drummer of the band, beforehand, sort of sheepishly asking if this would be possible. It's hard because the imposter syndrome is very real. Some people have it, some people don't. No matter how much success I have, I'm certain I don't deserve any of it at any point. So it took a lot for me to even ask, like, hey, can I get on the guest list? Hey, can I do something? Hey, can me and my son meet you guys? And he was very positive all the way through. And so when I went to the show, I knew that my son and I were going to be on the guest list. And he said, quote, and you can come by after. So if you've seen my Black MIDI review, that's the last time I had such access. I'm telling you, access stresses me out. I want it. If you're watching this and you're the kind of person who grants access, give me access. But it creates all sorts of anxiety in me. So if you watch the Black MIDI review, you see where I was before. But okay, good. So I know I'm getting into the show and probably something else will happen. Right? Probably I'll see the band in some capacity. So that's what I'm thinking going there. It's also an excuse. My son goes to college down in D.C. It's his freshman year. So a couple weeks in, I get to go in, visit, eat at his dining hall, that whole thing. Sort of this nice thing where the excuse to go to the show was to see him, and the excuse to see him was to go to the show. The two things going together, Seeing BCNR in D.C. at a HBCU, what's not to love? So I picked him up from the dorm, right? And I drove across town. And goddamn, DC is like sneakily one of the hardest places to drive in the country. It shouldn't be that way. Most places are tough to drive in because they were created before, like super long time ago. But, DC was just sort of plucked out of a hat. It was chosen to be a city that they could plan. They hired a guy named Enfant. We're talking George Washington hired a guy named Enfant who grew up like in Versailles, I guess, and planned out this grid and everything should make sense. But when you actually drive in that city, there's all these weird like little side roads and off roads and one-way streets and like green lights that are next to red lights and like you don't know which way you're supposed to go. And everyone's quite aggressive in trying to go there. So I had this whole like I actually ended up going the wrong way down a one-way street into the sun. It was all very dangerous. In my reviews, I like to put people on blast. I like to talk about people around me, sort of criticize them. So city designers of DC, you are officially on blast because your city needs to be easier to drive around. And then it comes to parking. I'm just driving around, just going in circles and circles and circles, and it's sunset and all these weird traffic rules. And I say to my son, if there was just some place, and they told me that it cost $30 to park there, I would do it in a heartbeat. So I see some guy in a vest, it cost $20, perfect. Okay, these are just the kind of things I like to think about. This is what, like, just to put you in the place of where I am. I'm with my son, who I miss very dearly, and I'm in this kind of new city, and I'm walking around, and I'll talk a little bit more about what my day was like later on in the video. So, we go in, and my son's kind of like, we're on the guest list. Do we need to wait in line? And I'm like, listen. You've seen my story of Black MIDI. I'm not going to assume that I get any special treatment about anything. So I go right to the line. This is where I meet the first auditor, the first person who recognizes me. I don't ever get recognized except at Black MIDI and Black Country New Road shows, which makes sense. Very dedicated fans who would also like my content. Not my content, my videos, my art. It's not content. Let's not diminish what I do. So the first one was a guy named Brett. Who apparently goes to school with my son, so that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. That's cool. And then there's a guy, I didn't catch his name. He had long hair and a mustache. So what's up, long hair and mustache guy? So I'm in there in line, and then we're waiting, and then we get to the guest list, and so it's this awkward thing, because I feel like a fraud. Why the hell would I, who just sits in my office on a Friday, why would I get access to see a show for free? This is just a hobby I picked up in the lobby. Well, why do people, So anyway, so I'm there, and I give my first name. Nope, not there. I give my last name. Not there. I'm like, oh, damn it happened again. Oh, wait a minute. Is it under Professor Sky? Oh, there you are. So I didn't even, of course, that's how I'd be down there. It's just weird when your sort of persona becomes yourself. Jesus Christ. Can you tell them I went to grad school? So we go in, and I teach my son the most important lesson you can ever have, which is get immediately in the merch line. Don't figure out where the bathroom is. Don't try to get your space in line. We get in the merch line. This whole thing was also my son's birthday. His birthday was at the end of August. My birthday's in the middle of September. So this was sort of like a thing that we could do together to celebrate. We went to a good Serbian restaurant to get some cevapi, which is his favorite food in the world. We had like this really, nice time, And so I'm like, whatever you want, whatever merch you want, I'm going to get it for you. Let's just do it. And so we're in line, and there's probably like 10 people ahead of us. So we're not, later on, like half an hour later, the line went like around the entire upper layer and then down the stairs and then all the way through the pit. So there's just this huge, huge line. So we were there like 10 people in. It wasn't too bad. My son's choosing between the white, the blue, and the black. And then they have a poster, and it's a nice poster of this sort of Mount Rushmore image. And I'm thinking, like, do I buy it now or do I buy it later? Because if you ever bought a poster at a show, and which I usually like to do, because I have a basement where I have all my instruments for my kids and I to play together, and so we have tons of framed pictures from different concerts I've been to. And but the thing is, you have to like hold you don't show up with a poster tube, right? You just show up with yourself. And so then you're like trying to hold this thing, and you're protecting, and you're dancing, and you're moving, and you're like sort of like curving it together, and you're trying to figure out like how to. So I'm like, I'll see when I get up there. While I'm in line, I actually get an email from like their publicist saying, would I like to go to the show in DC? And again, just this imposter syndrome's all over the place. I don't think like, wow, I'm such hot stuff that I could potentially go to 2 Black Country New Road shows for free. I think, wow, 2 people are foolish enough to invite me to this thing. Anyways, I didn't skip work. I taught remotely on Wednesday, but still, I'm a teacher, so I need to be there for my students. So I couldn't do 2 shows. So I get up to the front, and there's the poster, and there's the shirt, and there's a cardboard box for the posters. So I think, great. No problem. I'll just wait till the end. I'll swing by the end. I'll pick up the poster and I'll go back. And then the person ahead of me asks for a poster. So the guy opens up the cardboard box and takes out the last one. And I'm like, I got it. Whew. There's just one poster left, and it's there on the table. So I will grab the last poster. I almost messed up by trying to play it cool, but I didn't. So I ask for the poster. He says, I'm sorry, I'm saving that for the tour manager. Son of a... So I don't get a poster. It's all right. No big deal. But, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever missed out on merch because you were being too cool? I don't know. Anyways. Somebody offered me, like, the merch from Kanye's show, like, his merch that he designed for his, shows at the football stadiums. I didn't take him up on it. There's another piece of merch I missed. So anyways, that's fine. We go and we get a dinner. So dinner, in this case, was a Sprite. I always get Sprite at concerts. That's the only time I ever drink Sprite, and I drink Sprite at every concert. You ever see me with a cup, I'm drinking Sprite. Not dirty Sprite, clean Sprite. Just totally clean Sprite. And a big bag of Lay's potato chips. That's our dinner. That's all the food they have. So we go and we sit. So the way to imagine, first of all, the Howard Theater is beautiful. It's like this really beautiful place. It's mostly like this nice curved wood. It manages to feel historic and modern at the same time, which is just awesome, because obviously it is historic, and it's attached to Howard University, historically black college university, while also being very well kept so it's one of the nicest looking and feeling venues I think I've ever been in. So, you walk in, and there's the bar, and there's like a little platform, and there's like 3 stairs down, and then there's this sort of pit area where people kind of will stand and watch and dance. So we're up on the layer, and there's kind of like a little cupboard. So we're just like sitting against the cupboard, which is right next to the VIP section where there's it's cordoned off. and we're just drinking our Sprite and eating our Lay's, and that's our dinner. I see like a really nice security guard, and so I'm like, hey, if I was told I can go backstage by the band, when do I do that? And he's like, oh, let me figure out, big man. He's like, I'll talk to him, I'll talk to him and see what it is. Don't worry about it. If that's what happened, that's what happened. And I asked the same question to the guy who put us on the guest list. I'm just like, because I don't know, like I don't want to piss off security guards, while at the same time, I don't want to miss out on an opportunity. Then the opening act starts off, Danishevskaya. It's not that hard to say. I just wrote it wrong. Danishevskaya. Which is an interesting group. I guess they're releasing an album in November, and I would like to review it. I really like the songwriting and the singing. The performance of the music felt kind of inconsistent. I don't know if maybe there's like a mixing issue or something like that. But like the things that were being sung and the songs and the construction of everything was great. So I really look forward to hearing more of the band. It's especially like this opening where it's like just a woman playing piano and a different woman singing, had just a really beautiful, haunting, really well made sound. So yeah, my son says that a lot of the songs were covers. He said a song was an Elliott Smith cover, and I was like, son, are you okay? You're listening to Elliott Smith? I know it's tough going off to college, and you can feel blue sometimes, but talk to your kids about whether or not they're listening to Elliott Smith. It might be a good indication of their general well-being. I'm being goofy, but there you go. So, we're sitting there and we're watching, and then there's this whole other drama that's happening. So if you can imagine, like this is the floor. So we're standing right here, okay? And then there's like a little railing, and then the stairs go down. The ADA seating, the seating for disabled people, so they can see while sitting down, is over here, okay? So their line of sight is like this. But there's nothing stopping people from walking up to the railing and standing at the railing. So what ends up happening is I'm standing here with my son. The person who needs to see is sitting here, and people keep standing right in front of her right there. Now, I'm not going to put them on blast. It's not their fault. They didn't know that that's ADA seating. There's no signs anywhere. They're just walking into a very full venue, and then they're going, oh, look at this. I can lean on this railing. So, oh my God, the whole time, it was so stressful because she had a friend with her, not a security staff. She had a friend with her who's sitting there and has to walk up and say, excuse me, this is the ADA seating, so I just need you to move. And everybody was nice, and everybody moved away, except for that one person who laughed and stayed there until you had to repeat it. That person's on blast. But in general, it was this horrible sandcastle situation where they'd be sitting there, someone would stand, they'd say, oh, you need to move. Okay, sorry, they'd move away, and someone else would come in and stand. So I'm sitting there, I can barely even pay attention to Dennis Kavaya. Like, I'm just like, I like take the trash can, I try to put it to block people from going, then people just move the trash can and sit there anyways. I try and take the little cordoning off thing for the VIP section and move that, but then the security guy goes and moves it back until finally somebody had the great idea of taking a chair and putting a chair in the corner so they're able to actually see the show. So whatever the opposite of on blast is, whoever solved that situation. And I looked up and I would see her watching the show. And it's just a reminder that we need to take better care of people who have disability issues. We just need to care for them more. We need to be more mindful of it. So, you see? Aren't you glad you didn't skip? Cowards afraid to hear my stories about eating potato chips? Around this point, I met another fan, another auditor named August. Nice talking to him a little bit. I actually talked to the mustache guy too in line. That was nice. Met another one named Ashok, who was very excited because he had a vinyl that he had signed by Georgia, who's the only member of the band who's not performing with them because she's with her other band, Jockstrap. So she's like, I already had Georgia sign this at a Jockstrap show. Maybe I'll get them to all sign a copy of Ants Up There. So that's kind of fun. A guy named Brendan came up and said that he was afraid of cramping my style. I don't have any style to cramp, but I did like hearing that term. And so here we are. So the Danish Kavaya show is over. I enjoy it. It's quite good. And then we have like this time where, okay, use the restroom, come back. We're going to go to the floor. And we go to the floor, and they are their own roadies, which is something which I think I noticed with Black Midi as well. where it's weird, you know? Like you're sort of used to rock bands having at least, you know, like other people doing stuff, but they come out and they're like tuning themselves and getting it all set up, which is interesting because the whole crowd knows who they are, and so they're clapping, but they're not actually doing the thing. Creates kind of a weird atmosphere. I will say, like, the crowd, the main thing I was afraid of in seeing Black Country New Road is Black Country New Road fans. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably one of those fans, right? So, I don't mean you, I mean the other people. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a certain sort of like nerdy, like I know every word, even to the unreleased verses kind of energy, which I was afraid of. A sort of over familiarity, that sense of sort of having some kind of ownership of the band, and that wasn't there at all. If anything, I would have liked that a little bit more. The crowd is a little bit Jeb Bush. They were a little low energy, but that's okay. I'd rather that than overly energetic. I'd say it was probably like 70% male, and I'd say it was like 90% under the age of 30. I definitely felt I felt old. Why did I say I felt I don't know my videos, so I felt which is the cool way of saying old. Okay, so I've now invited people back here. Okay, so you skipped all the gobbledygook. You missed all this talk about potato chips, but now we're going to talk about the show. And if you like what I say, please smash the like bucket. Please subscribe. I have a new code. If you type in the letters AVAA, I guarantee you I will heart your comment. This is sort of a permission structure for you to comment something if you don't want to say something. It stands for awesome video as always, so I love to see those. Why don't you drop one of those too? The algorithm's been a little bit pissy with me lately, so I'd like to convince that little kitty cat that I'm going to keep feeding it. So my general comments on the show. Expectations. Expectations are so tough, especially with concerts. You know, I've been so disappointed by many concerts in my life, and I've been blown away by many concerts in life. So it's a whole game that I have in my head before I actually see a show. So I'm like, I've been told for as long as I've been thinking about this band that they are this amazing live band. So my expectations are high. But then I realized that those expectations are probably unrealistic, so then I lowered them, expecting to be disappointed. So my expectations were high with an expectation that I would be disappointed, therefore lowering my expectations. Fortunately, even my high expectations were exceeded. I don't really know how it is that they can make such precise music with such feeling, with such soul, but they really do. I don't know how. At the end of this grueling tour, I mean, they've been playing like almost every night for like a month. It's just absolutely insane, the amount of energy. And because they don't just make like music, like they make very precise music. They really have to think about, they are really delivering. And it really is special to watch because, and I said this with Black Midi as well, seeing virtuosity in concert is one of the great joys of this world. You know, that's why people go to see virtuoso violin players. That's why people go to see great performers. And you get to see great performers who are also performing with vibrancy and with joy, despite the fact that they're at the end of a super long tour, despite the fact that the crowd was a little bit Jeb Bush. You know what I mean? Like it was there, you know. And the other thing I was wondering was, you know, how is this going to work? Because as I've talked about in my other reviews of the Live at Bush Hall, I guess I could call this Jeb Bush Hall. While we're, you know, that what was interesting was when their lead singer left the band, it gave them a chance to reform without a center. And not to just get another lead singer, but to reform without a center. So that's what it is. And so you see them reforming without a center, which makes the lead singers, who are never in the center of the stage, it's always Charlie, the drummer's in the center of the stage, right? So obviously I think, you know, Tyler has the sort of most sort of lead singer energy of anyone in the group, but she's often sitting down, she's off to the side, she doesn't take that sort of, you know, and then, you know, Lewis, who is a male, and by that fact sounds more like the old lead singer. You'd think that he would take the lead, but he doesn't take the lead either. He's in the side, and he takes the lead when he needs to. And then May, the other singer, has a sort of amazing voice and this like fascinating fragility. Like it seems like there could be so many people who could be centers of whatever it is, but they never take it. And it manages to be a convincing performance where you're never just looking at the one person. You know, you ever been to a Dog Star concert? So that's Keanu Reeves' band. And it's, one of the few shows where people only watch the bass player, because he's playing bass. And they came there to see Keanu Reeves, right? They didn't come there to see lead singer of Dog Star. I don't even know who it is, So there's none of that happening, where there's no, what it is? There's an inevitable center to most bands. Like, you can't help it. When you watch the Stones, you watch Mick Jagger. It doesn't matter how much I preferred, how much Charlie Watts was my favorite member of the band, even though I really love watching Keith Richards play guitar. If my eye just goes somewhere, it goes to Mick. It's a kind of reptilian thing. So not only do they not have a center, they aggressively don't have a center. And it's great. Now, the next thing I want to say about this show is I feel like I finally get Live at Busch Hall. I think I finally get what they're doing. And I don't know, I didn't get a chance to talk to them about this. I did get to meet them, but I didn't get to interview them. When I listen to this music with my family, they're always surprised that I like it so much, because it can sound like musical theater, and I'm known for not liking musical theater, even though I love West Side Story. So everyone can just bite it, okay? I don't hate musical theater categorically, but in general, I don't like it. But what I realize is that, this is like a musical. This album, but it's like a live musical, but it's like a concept album, not a story. So it's a live concept album, musical theater album. That's what Live at Busch Hall ends up being. And the reason that you understand that is that when you see them playing it live, they're adding a couple songs, but for the most part, they're just playing this in order. And you understand that there is emotion from song to song. And it's not like they're sitting up there and they're trying to play a standard rock concert. It's like a limited edition, a limited run of a certain play. Post-Ants, Black Country, right? That's what this is. This is a snapshot in time, and it's not just random songs thrown together. It's songs thrown together with a certain rhythm, with a certain pace from song to song, and it's like, this is okay, but that's not the thing. Like, this is not the thing. The live album that I'm pointing to, I'm pointing to the live album, by the way. That's what that is back there, that they released of this music. That's not the thing. The only way to actually properly experience this album is to do what I did and see it in concert. And I don't know if they're ever going to play it again. I don't know if they're going to keep playing this music. I don't know how they're going to stay as a band. What I imagine is that this music might just disappear from their catalog. And in that way, they could become almost like Louis C.K., not in the way of being sexual predators, who rightfully received a lot of condemnation and then were oddly forgiven for no real good reason. Anyways, don't even talk about Louis C.K. But Louis C.K. as a performer is amazing, because he's a comedian and he'd perform for an hour, and then the next year that was gone, and then he'd perform a new hour, right? That's the feeling that I get. So I feel like I finally get this Busch Hall music. Like, I finally get it. It's like it's this great musical theater experience with no story and no one story, but like each performer taking their part and feeding into this sort of thing. So I now feel like, for the first time, I've actually really heard this music, because it's performance music. Does that make sense? Is that a cool way to put it? Is that how you see it too? Was this just totally obvious to you? I will say I really appreciated the image that they have behind the stage. It's this image. So I think what it is that this is not a story, right? This is not like a singular story, right? But in general, it feels like this guy here who's carrying the stairs is sort of like this symbolic sort of everyman who represents sort of what the Black Country New Road are now, sort of like these hardworking musicians who are doing their best to put on a show, but are sort of kind of haphazard and in these kind of awkward Charlie Chaplin-esque situations, okay? So let's see if that stays up now. So this appears to be, this boat, and it's got no mast, and he's got the ladders that he used in the performance, and the mast is broken and the seagull's there, that he's sort of like out to sea. So that feels to me like I'm reading that as that person represents the band, and that they are sort of out and lost on the waves of foreign shores of the United States and Canada. And I like it. It's a little bit dark. It helps to give into that theatrical image because all of a sudden this becomes like a theatrical story of that guy, of Cherry McGee. I don't know what his name is. Does he have a name in the story? I don't think so. So Cherry McGee is like out on tour and he's in this place. Absolutely beautiful image. I did look up beforehand the set lists, so I had a better idea of what I was going to be getting into. And it's, their set lists are virtually the same every night, which is usually a weakness, but in this case, I don't think it is. Again, going back to this as being a performance of a set of music that, like a symphony, is in a certain order. Okay, it's not just like, oh, these are some BCNR songs, and then they play Concord, and then they play Sunglasses, and then they do a cover of I Want Candy. No, it's like, this is the song, this is the performance, this is the story of Cherry McGee. But they start off every show with like a site-specific song. So they played the Star Spangled Banner. I think as it was sung by Tina Turner. I don't know. I was sort of hoping they'd sing along. They didn't. And then we lead into the first song, Up Song. The problem for me is this. My favorite part of this album, and probably my favorite part of this show, is literally the first 10 seconds. The saxophone, the tone that Lewis Evans gets on his saxophone is so stupid good, is so interesting, has such character, and him playing these very precise notes. And there's a certain point where he changes up the rhythm and plays the same note twice where you don't think he should, that is transcendently exciting to me. Every time I listen to it, I can't quite predict where the note is. Just when he hits that, and then Tyler comes in on the bass. Just the dynamics of this is just so great. So I was a little bit afraid that I would see this and then the rest of the show would be a disappointment. It wasn't that, but it's still my favorite part. And this is just that example, just they're playing like intricate and rough at the same time. And here it's great because Charlie, the drummer, is just going crazy and he's playing so hard, he's playing so well. And then, this is where you're really in that point of saying, maybe he is the center. Maybe the drummer's the center. Why not? Why not? Why not? And then we get to the end of the song where they sing the lines, BCNR, Friends Forever. And, I get it, I get it that the story of Cherry McGee is a sad one. And the story of the breakup of Black Country New Road, not the breakup, but of the lead singer leaving, or member leaving at all, is a sad one. But this triumph here, and everybody in the crowd is singing it together. It's this sort of communal moment of excitement where for that moment, and I think this is on purpose, we become members of Black Country New Road because we are doing this together. I mean, it's them who's doing it. They're the artists, they're the creator. But there is a certain amount to which we are creating this with them, especially when you see it live. And I don't usually sing along at concerts, so we'll talk about people who are going to be on blast for singing along. But oh my God, was I screaming. You hear my voice, right? I was screaming BCNR Friends Forever, and this feels like it's part of the opening salvo of this musical experience. And I am legitimately smiling very, very, very hard. This is where I feel bad for actual famous people. I was trying to imagine I imagine that Fantano just can't go to concerts at all because people are just watching him, watching them, So I was happy that nobody that I met was nearby me because I'm just sitting there just smiling like a dumbass. I'm not afraid to smile like a dumbass, but you get a little self-conscious at a certain point. But that's the joy. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be cerebral. I was expecting to be sitting there and thinking very much about how well they're playing and what it sounds like and the decisions that they're making. I was not expecting to be goofily smiling, but that's what they're capable of doing. Next track is The Boy, which is fun because that's what I call my son. He's a man, but, he's my boy. It's this great, little accordion and little drum solo to start. It's a little bit different from the original. There's the intro is phrased differently, the way she's singing it. And what happened in the show, I wasn't predicting it. You've noticed I've mentioned everybody on stage. Okay, well, I didn't mention the person who's replaced Georgia, who's apparently Lewis's cousin, maybe I think he said. I only heard him say it, or some relative there. And she was wonderful. Great, obviously not the original, but great, right? No problems there. But I haven't mentioned Luke, the guitar player. And I realized that I have a hard time understanding what when there's two guitar players, I have a hard time figuring out who does what, right? So even listening to this, I should have been listening more carefully to what he's doing. But this show is officially my membership to the Luke Appreciation Club has officially been inked, okay? I am a member. I cannot believe how good of a guitarist he is and how much I've been sleeping on him and how much this show helped me to understand it. Because he's doing so much. He's doing so much precision work, so much just very difficult, intricate note playing. But he's doing a lot of rhythm work as well. And because Tyler is jumping around between like guitar and bass and singing and all that, in a way, it's like the rhythm section almost becomes, instead of bass and drums, it almost becomes, on a fairly consistent basis, guitar and drums. And he's just able to cover so much ground. And just I believe he's playing a Fender Stratocaster, at least looks like a Fender Stratocaster. It sounds like a Fender Stratocaster. It's this clean sound. And all the way throughout the entire show, the thing that just kept blowing my mind is how awesome it sounded when it interacted with other instruments. What an amazing job he is doing writing these guitar lines, playing these guitar lines, and having them interact with everything else. Also, just how the hell are their voices so good? I screamed for like one song, and I sound like Miley Cyrus. And meanwhile, May's up here singing this very intricate song that she'd sung the day before, the day before, the day before, day off, day before, day before, day before, day before, day before. This is the second to last show on the tour. It's really impressive. It's that virtuosity. Then we get to a new song, which is called like 24/7 or something. I don't know. I didn't write it down. Something about being English. I don't know. It's a Lewis song. It's a new song to me. The piano sounds a little bit Gershwin-y. And one thing I've learned, now the next person who's on blast is me, because I now need to understand that Lewis's songs are growers. That I hear them the first time, and I'm not sure. I like them okay, but then I end up loving them. So I'm just going to preemptively tell you that I love this song, even though my initial take was positive, but not wildly positive. So I'm officially on blast for that, because my ears don't have the foresight to understand how much I'm going to love his music. Just crazy guitar work here. Again, the Luke Appreciation Society. And there's like a jam at the end. Almost like there's times where it reminds me a little bit of the Grateful Dead. And statistically, there's probably not a lot of overlap with Grateful Dead fans and Black Country New Road fans. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But like really the kind of like spacey great, there's piano and drums and just all this sound. I Won't Always Love You is totally different. She's playing like this Spanish guitar. A totally different start. She's like tracing the rhythm on the guitar. It's so beautiful. And it's funny because while I was driving down to DC, I listened a fair amount to Howard Stern's interview with Paul Simon. He can be a really great interviewer. And, the Sound of Silence was on their first album, and it didn't have any hit. It wasn't a hit. It was like they had to redo it later. I sort of feel that about this song. Like, I feel like I Won't Always Love You, if it was like recorded properly, could be like an Adele-size hit. And we would just have this older version. It's like, oh, is that how it sounded? And then I got to put someone else on Blake. Okay. So the thing is, I need glasses. I'm 46 years old now. I need glasses. And when I type, when I'm watching a show, I don't have glasses. So I don't know. So I meant to write on blast, but I ended up writing on Blake. So that's my new term. Okay? Don't sing along. If there's 10 people singing along, it's one thing. If there's one person singing along, please don't sing. Oh my God. Then she switches to bass, and the song is just rocking so hard. And again, I'm just sitting there, and somehow, even though I've discussed to you all the leaders of the band and the singing, I end up focusing so much of my time watching Luke play and figuring out how he's interacting with the other members. We then get to the across the pond friend. Now, I've already discussed how I'm on Blake for my inability to really understand how great Lewis's songs are on first pass. This is the greatest. This is the greatest example of that. Because when I first heard it, maybe it was just his accent. It reminded me too much of this Mike Myers sketch that he had where he sat in a tub and he sang. Like I was just such an idiot, dumb American. Just bleh. Because now, oh my God, the song's my jam. It's so good. Like the things that I initially wasn't sure about are like its strength, its vulnerability, the honesty in his voice, like the way he's reaching these notes and like he's straining but he's hitting, and like this the innocence and the directness of the lyrics and just the catchiness and the way the band comes in. The song rules. So I'm an idiot. But you know who's not an idiot is the crowd. I don't know why. Okay? This is like when a band plays its greatest hits and all of a sudden people start clapping, you know? But is this the greatest hit? Is Across the Pond Friend like their biggest song on this album? Why? How did that happen? Was it a single? Tell me. Because I didn't understand. I actually had to ask my son the most boomer thing I could have asked him. I was like, is this a TikTok song? Because like, I didn't understand. But maybe just everyone understood that it's just such a great song. And it seems like he changed the lyrics to I did it like May to I did it my way. Maybe I just heard it that way. I believe he said, wake up, DC. He is like, Lewis is great because he's sort of the ham. Like you need someone to be hammy, someone to get on the mic and say things like that. And during a previous song, he like pointed out the members of the band that did that whole thing. Like you need that energy. Also just in general, his movements, like he has sort of very subtle dancing movements, especially when he's playing saxophone where he moves with the rhythm. It's a very effective way of communicating the rhythm, which is often complicated, the rhythm to the audience. Because you see someone and he's doing this little dance, you know, and it's like he sets it up so that you sort of just ease into that. It's great. It was at this point, my kids will sometimes say things to me, and I know they're just hoping that I say it on the video because they want to get credit. So my son said, this is like a Tiny Desk concert played in a parking lot. Which I don't know exactly what he means by it. He loved the show, so this is not an insult. I guess what he's saying is that like everyone's playing so well and so intricately, but unlike the Tiny Desk concert, it's like being played for a giant audience. Next is the laughing song. Again, just the amount of the synergy between the flute and the Stratocaster guitar. God damn it, it's so good. And I've listened to bootlegs, okay? I went and I looked up whatever performances from where did they play? Glastonbury. It's fine. It's fine seeing. It's fine watching it. But seeing it live, I hate to say it, if you're one of the people who hasn't seen them, you're really missing out. It's just great. This song is interesting because it often has a sort of like 70s feel, but they sort of make the accordion more prominent, which makes it do that less. And then there's like the drum thing at the end gets extended out, and it's really nice. And there's this like guitar bit with the keyboard, and it's just beautiful. Now, is the audience on Blake for this? They clapped before the ending, but the song has 2 fake endings. Okay, so they clapped after the second fake ending. So you tell me, are they on Blast, are they on Blake, or not? I personally give them a pass, because it's really hard not to applause at quiet parts. Then we get to some song which, according to some or others, called Nancy. I sort of feel like it should be called Cow, but what are you going to do? Because those are the lyrics I picked up, something about a cow on its back. Anyways, this song's great because it's like got double Spanish guitars, and Charlie plays banjo, so that's cool. Like everyone's on strings except for the saxophone by Lewis, and it's got this great slow and fast movement to it. And I really enjoy hearing the final version of this song. The image that came to my head was like 1,000 spiders playing at once in perfect harmony. Like there's something about all these individual notes and these strings, and they're all just going, and the voice and the piano are just in perfect sync, and that kind of overpronounced lyrics, which again is sort of part of the musical feel to it. Now I've been putting people on Blake for this whole video, but the biggest person, if you are watching this, I expect a full apology in the comments. If you were the person behind me talking loudly during a song which I had never heard before, was hearing for the very first time, and was appreciating the nuances of the strings, why were you telling me, yeah, I'm a cheerleader and I'm also in marching band? Okay? If you're out there, if you're part of the 0.0000001% of people on planet Earth who are both in a marching band and a cheerleader, you are on Blake. You are absolutely on blast. I should not know that, okay? First of all, because I'm trying to watch a show. Second of all, I now have to picture how the hell are you doing that? Do you have like a flute, and then you do a flip, and then you play Louie Louie? Doot, 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 yay! Go Georgetown. I don't know. But you're on Blake. Don't talk loud during a quiet song. Then Turbines, there's a little point where they're all kind of sitting there, and they're sitting like everyone who's not the violinist, and May, who's singing, is sitting down. It's a nice moment. It's a nice long song. This is where mercifully someone started singing in the beginning and they stopped. I didn't even look at them, so you're not on Blake. You know, it's okay. I get passionate about songs too. I wanted to sing. I wanted to say I'm just a pig or whatever, but I didn't, and you stopped, so you're officially not on Blake. Just a great, fast, complicated part. Again, I'm just totally attached to Luke just playing guitar and just going crazy like a little bug. We've got like Tyler's like playing bass with a bow, it appears. She's sitting down. It's hard to tell. I'm 6'1", so I'm usually the problem. But at a show like Black Country New Road, it's a lot of tall dudes. So I didn't see everyone that well. There was like someone who's like 6'2" ahead of me. So I'm not going to complain because I usually have it pretty good. But goddamn, I had a hard time. I do kind of a lot of that stuff. And then just, oh my God, Charlie's bashing the cymbals, and he's got so much energy, and he's like playing this drum solo, and guess who's laughing again? Guess who's smiling? Guess who's just like, yeah, I am. I am just laughing so hard. I am just enjoying this so much. You know? At the end of this, they say there will be a next time, which is great. You know, that the band's staying together. Who knows what form they're going to take. Again, I am pitching them to do albums with different lead singers. You know, I swear Lauren O'Day as a lead singer for Black Country New Road for one album would be the shit. God damn it, that would be good. And I'm pretty sure that they know each other. So anyways, that's just me, but I'm not a producer. You know, I'm just a music cricket. Then we get to Dancers, which is the final track, an epic outro. Again, the understanding that I have of this whole project is so much better because the flow, I've listened to it enough that I don't want there to be a different song. I don't want them to do a cover of Who Let the Dogs Out. I don't want them to do a cover of Waiting for the Man or whatever, right? I don't want them to. I want them to follow this story that they're telling. This little saxophone solo in here, which is great. I swear that Charlie is screaming into the microphone at a certain point. He's playing a lot with mallets, which he does a lot throughout the show, and it's just great. Just all these like, Tyler has this ability to sing where she does acrobatic effects, you know, high and low, without ever sounding like she's trying to be acrobatic. I have one more person to put on Blake. That's me. I'm typing like the whole show. So it must be annoying to sit next to me and have some guy who's like looking down with his 46-year-old eyeballs writing on Blake over and over again, over and over again in his notes app. So I apologize. If that was you next to me, hey, at least you have me doing a review of a show that you saw. That's kind of cool, right? That's lucky, I hope. God damn, that's arrogant of me. And then, you know, the show ends and they do the reprise of the Up song and the Friends Forever, and it has this great feeling. And now at this point, I'm just straight anxiety because I know I'm supposed to meet the band, but I asked Charlie how we were going to go about it like 6 hours before the show, and he didn't respond. And you need to understand something. I don't expect anything okay? I am owed literally nothing. Okay, so I'm not like speaking fancifully, like saying that, but not believing it. I truly believe it. So I don't expect anything. Okay, I expect maybe they just decide it's not worth it. Forget it. We'll just thank you for enjoying the show. I hope you'd like the free tickets. Right? Like, great. I would be on here giving just as positive a review. I would feel exactly the same about the show that I just saw. Right? So I'm sitting there and meet another guy. Reed comes up. At this point, my son's like, "Why is it that everyone sounds like they're sleeper agents?" Reed, August, Ashok. But then fortunately, the next guy comes up as Michael, which is my dad's name, so that was nice. And then I start getting texts right after the show from Charlie, and so I'm excited. Like, we're going to work it out. So I'm going to take a couple minutes, going to relax. Can you meet out back? So I'm like, out back, like outside, like yeah, outside. Now at this point, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be out there, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other super fans out there, and then I'm not going to get to have any kind of real meaningful interaction. I'm just going to be, which is okay, but I'm just going to be another person like looking for an autograph or whatever, But whatever, it's fine. I don't expect a single thing. So I go back there. There's like a couple, or at least a dude and a woman, and they're like, "Professor's guy!" Like, they were laughing and saying how like they went to go see Playboy Cardi because of the review that I did of the show, and it was cool because I was there with my son, and he went to the show with me. So it's really nice, especially if I'm like, that's really nice to know ways that I help spread music and spread love of music. That's like, that means a lot to me, because that's like what I'm trying to do with the show. I'm not trying to make, AdSense, I like AdSense, but I'm not trying to make AdSense. I'm trying to make the world a better place by appreciating art at the highest level that I can appreciate it, and share that with the world. So that was really meaningful, Ashok was back with his vinyl. He was there. And then finally they come out on the sort of loading dock, and there it was. I got to meet May, Tyler, Luke, and Charlie. I don't know why Lewis wasn't there. I didn't ask, obviously. I assume maybe it's because he's there with his cousin. I also maybe secretly wonder, how you have, how different people have imposter theory, right? There's also the kind of people who believe that everybody dislikes them, okay? I'm that kind of person. I assume that nobody likes me. When I enter a room, I assume that nobody likes me, okay? It's a weird thing that some people have. It's usually the result of some kind of trauma in childhood or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but that's not the point of the story. So I'm like, is he mad at me for calling him a manic pixie dream boy? Because I felt weird saying that when I did the review of the show. Like, I knew it was funny and I knew what I meant, but I also knew it was kind of obnoxious. So I'm sure that it was at the end of a super long tour, and who the hell wants to deal with some guy, no matter how nice he is? So all these things are going on in my head, and if I had to bet $1 million, it would be Tyler didn't feel like dealing with it. Great. But there's still that little part of me, that little imposter in there who's like, man. So anyways, I officially am not going to use that term anymore anyways. It's funny, but it's not even accurate, He's a human being. He's not a caricature, right? So anyways, all that's kind of going through my head later, but it's just great. I'm in there, and Charlie meets me and is like apologizing because we had thought about making other plans. We had thought about doing a sort of interview or doing some sort of event or some kind of thing, But like, I wasn't expecting anything, man. These people have to go and do this show where they put everything into it. And then they have to pack up their stuff, go to their hotel, get up the next morning, drive to another city, and do it again. And they've been doing it for a month. Like, the amount of energy that has to take. I don't care if it's the best job in the world. It's a job. God damn it, it's tough, So anyways, I wasn't expecting anything, but it was funny. It's like, sorry, this is all we could do. It's like, oh, sorry that myself and my son get to hang out with the band for a little bit and go to an amazing concert for free. You're damn right you're sorry. The upside for the channel is I got lavalier mics. I bought these in preparation of maybe getting to interview them, and I realized I couldn't just hold my phone up to their face and record at the same time. So I'm going to use this for the channel for other stuff. So next time you see me using a lavalier mic interviewing somebody, it's in preparation of this thing. So super excited. I'm just so awkward, even though I interviewed them for like an hour, right? Or like an hour and a half, I interviewed them for a long time. The dude in the couple said that he listened to that interview while delivering DoorDash or Uber Eats. I don't know. Which is like, well, if I could make your life better, while you're delivering food, if I can make the gig economy life better, then that's great. I feel lucky that I did not grow up during the gig economy. Anyways, I'm just so awkward. So I think the first thing I said was like, happy to see you, you know. Mind you, not knowing how this was going to go, I had like a list of interview questions, you know, like page long of just all these sort of intricate questions about this album, about the future of the band, about the nature of touring, about the way of playing, about all these things. I'm like to see, happy you finally do is what I do. You know, it was fun. You know, I got to tell them I missed them in concert last time because I was taking my daughter to see My Chemical Romance, and they're all like, "Oh, that was the right thing to do." You know, I really appreciate it. I talked a little bit with Tyler about seeing the Lincoln Memorial, which I'd gone and seen earlier in the day. I'd never seen it before. It's beautiful there. And then it was cool because I got to finally tell Luke, like, I understand what you do now. Now, that sounds insulting. It's not like I didn't understand what it was before, but again, you don't really understand how great he is until you really, really, really watch him play and watch him interact. And that's true with all of them. All of them. Like, until you actually see them doing it, it is just not as real. So, you know, like, yeah. Like, whenever they say, like, who would you go back in time to see? Hendrix. It's the only answer. It's the only answer. James Brown, Prince, okay, you know, those are close. But to actually see Hendrix do what he's doing, I imagine, anyways. Appreciate virtuosity when you have it. So Luke said that his mom would appreciate that I have such an appreciation for his musicianship. So it is funny, you know, because I'm probably the age of their parents, you know. So it's a weird thing that happens when you get old. You don't think you're old. The world thinks you're old, but you don't think you're old. I don't think I'm not 25 years old. You know, I'm talking to 25-year-olds, and I don't know that I'm not 25 years old, you know. I told the story about the poster, and he's like, yeah, it's funny because either you sell out or you're at the end of the show and you have 1,000 posters left. Interestingly enough, like, so I'm super into this, right? I'm super into being a music critic. And part of that is that you have to like not be as much of a fan. But the thing is, I'm a collector. So I'm like one of the silliest people on earth in that way, okay? Because when I interviewed Black Country New Road, I got to talk with them for like an hour and a half. It's one of the best things I've ever done, seriously, in my entire life. That may end up being the best thing I have given to the world, is that 2-part interview. I'm so proud of that work. But then I was on Reddit and I saw people sharing that they had copies of the album signed by the band, and I was jealous. What kind of American horse hockey BS is that? I had the most special experience, but I'm such a materialist. I'm such an unrepentant baseball card collector, you know, that I kind of felt that way. So it's funny. So these things are funny because when I had the poster, I brought a Sharpie, and I thought, well, it would be cool to have the band sign the poster. But would I ask? And so I'm all up in my head about that, you know. But like, I like things. Like, I've saved every ticket that I've ever had, every concert I've ever been to. I've saved the concert ticket, right? So I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, you know. And so here I am, I'm on the guest list, so I don't get a ticket, you know. So I turned the parking pass that I got, the $20 parking pass. You see, I made it into a little ticket, you know. Like, that's how much I like stuff. So this has a happy ending. Because obviously, I would much rather meet the band than have an autographed thing, right? It's how stupid, it's how my mind works, you know. So my son is sitting there talking to the drummer. And the same thing happened with Black Country New Road, where I was just kicking around, having conversations while my son, who is a drummer, he's a great drummer, is just sitting there talking. And I'm just having this just beautiful moment, you know, just like that my son gets to do this, that this little thing that I do allows him to do that, to have these great conversations. It just meant so much. And the crazy thing is, Charlie was so moved that he went back and gave my son his drumsticks that he'd been using throughout the tour, you know. Now all of a sudden, the Sharpie that I brought and was never going to use because I want to be a music critic, not a fan, right? I gave it and said, could you sign it? Because I don't mind asking to have it signed for my son. And so he signed it. He said my son's major. He said what class he was going to be in. He said, thanks for coming. It's like, this is awesome. I don't have a picture of it here because they're in my son's dorm room already. But just awesome. You know, just a super awesome moment. I did manage to get a picture with the band. So there I am I'm very conscious that a lot of people don't like being touched, so I didn't put my arm around them. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do that without like sort of express consent. But what this ends up looking like is that that's my hand. so this is my arm longer. If you're a Black Country New Road fan, a real one, you'll get the joke about why I have an arm longer. That is where my arm goes. It goes all the way around to around Charlie. So anyways, this is kind of a funny picture. After I took the picture, the band said, "There's the thumbnail." So you saw the thumbnail. There's the thumbnail. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this with me. Let me know what you think about seeing them in concert. I can't wait to see them again. I can't wait to see them change. I am humbled and honored that they give me the time and space. Like, they kept on thanking me for the work that I do, which that imposter syndrome is so real. It's like, I sit in my living room and I say what I hear. Whip-de-doo. But hey. Anyways, it's great. It's just all great. It's like, I'm very appreciative. So until next time, for Jerry McGee, for the parking pass guy, and there's the camera.